recording. It's too late. I already hit start recording. How y'all doing?
You're doing all right. I got a haircut.
Well, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good, good. You did get a haircut. It looks really good.
Thank you.
You remind me of my hero Josuke.
Somebody told me I have like Josuke eyebrows. I was like, fuck yeah.
You kind of do got the very distinguished eyebrows. It's pretty cool looking.
It's the fucking like I always have like very sharp
Angry.
brows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like the default kind of angry looking brows.
Yeah, you have like default me eyebrows.
Yeah, they are. I remember making a fucking me and just being like, oh,
Like
there they are.
Yep. It's also why I like having you around. It looks like everything I say, you're responding to it interested.
Yeah, it's like
You're looking at
I was
me
doing that a lot. I was like doing that a lot during our shout out to the viewers. We've been having this will date this episode, but we've been having a weekly game on Arcane Gate on Twitch. And I remember taking a bunch of notes, and every time I caught myself where it's like every time I'm taking notes, I would go like I'm like staring and just like jotting shit down.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all are actually really invested in that. I was wondering how the campaign would go over.
It was really fun. It really threw me off with the fucking Groundhog's Day thing. I was like, oh shit!
The kick loop.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm excited to see how y'all respond to all this.
yeah.
But
Gnolls.
Yeah, Gnolls. We're talking about Gnolls, the opposite of groundhogs, the other JoJo, Gnoll.
Gnoll,
What?
exactly.
Yeah, no.
That's my favorite JoJo. That's when it's like he has the Joestar mark on the back, and it's just a fucking giant hyena.
My God.
But yeah,
You like creepy laughter. It does a pose.
They do the Joker laugh, like the autistic guy in like a Taco Bell or McDonald's who's like,
I love the grimace from like the moment you said that. Just seeing Jack looking.
that's how they genuinely, authentically laugh.
but
I'm the Joker, baby.
what's the reality of these people hanging out in Taco Bell doing Joker laughs?
I genuinely saw like it was a TikTok of a girl who was like recording herself, and because she didn't want to dox her fellow employee, was like, some people say that I have a laugh like the Joker, and she's like, oh really? And then he forces it out. He's like,
That's
and you can
gross.
feel him like bringing it out, and he doesn't hit that note at first, and he's like, then he runs out of breath. He's like, I can't breathe.
Some people say I sound like the Joker.
Is that
Some
what
people
makes the
say-
Baja Blast have its flavor? They put the Joker gas in it.
The spicy Joker fluid.
I had a bottle of Baja
Some
Blast. in
people
me.
say I laugh no.
Watch out for my Baja Blast.
That's what happened to Jared Leto Joker. He just fell into a big vat of Baja Blast and got turned into whatever it was.
Yeah. Mountain Dew.
Want to know how I got
Code
these
Green.
scars?
He like opens up a fucking thing of Baja Blast.
I tried to shotgun a Baja Blast from a metal can, and I went whoopsie. I went whoops, and it ripped my mouth open like real big. It was a huge lawsuit. It was.
I didn't know.
That's why I get to just wear makeup all day and do silly little things in the street.
hide my identity.
Yeah, it's a
Why so serious?
so,
Fucking
It's so shit. It's
Chuck, bring us back home. Bring us in.
yeah.
I'm
Let's go.
trying. I
Gnolls.
started to try and make a joke, then I realized I shouldn't say that. I'm going to say it
You're gonna
anyways because
spiral.
we're already in too deep. Gnolls, the one bit Australian depiction we have in D&D. What they're doing is
Yes. They are pretty Australian, even though they're fucking hyenas from Africa. They do give me Australia vibes, Mad Max vibes, really, which is Australian.
Oh, I was thinking dingoes. I was very off. I got dingoes and
Yeah, that's a little wrong.
No,
You're
that's
thinking
the
like
lady
Dingo
on YouTube.
Dial from Crash Bandicoot.
No,
yeah,
I'm
Dingo.
thinking about Dingo Doodles.
Dingo Doodles. That's Canadian, you fool.
Haha, silly.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we already made Ghostfire mad. Might as well make Dingo mad, I guess. All right, so yeah, Gnolls. So I just want to know how y'all think about them in general, because I know that's something we talked about a little bit just pre-show is how I feel about Gnolls in particular. Gnolls, I liked them just as a villain tribe or what have you, just group of enemies. Because
Yeah.
god
So
dang, if you take the lore as well, these are some evil dudes. If
to give the viewers some context for these things, these bad boys are supposedly the demon spawn of a demon prince from the abyss, and the abyss is like the opposite of hell. It's like chaos hell versus laws and contracts hell.
Yeah.
They're lower planes, and this one is infinite, inconceivable, and just brutal and animalistic, like the two parts of yin and yang. This is the other half. And Yinagu is the demon prince of slaughter. And he is one of the first ones to have actually brought his conquest from the lower planes into the material plane. And the supposed origin of the Gnolls is that during his massive campaign, just destroying as much as he could, there's a mix of a few things. Some people think that it was hyenas who ate the corpses of his slaughter.
Yeah.
And other people think it's anyone who ate flesh from things that he had claimed as his prey. So they're cursed, and they transform into a semblance of him because he looks like a big hyena with a flail. They resemble these sort of hyena-like folk, which is where their laugh genuinely comes from. And because of their slight against him to sate their hunger, they are now cursed with an infinite hunger for flesh, and that's the basis of their nature. So they form these little, like, they all worship him. They're forever changed by his influence, and they're just nasty, brutal butchers who fly through the plains eating as much meat as they can.
yeah, I think
I have to say, go ahead.
I think the latter option makes sense because there's a lot of similarities between Yinagu and Minotaur and just that whole concept in general with the demon princes that following them kind of makes you more like them and corrupts you to be more like them. Because I know even like it was mentioned one of the followers of Jubilex, the slime one, he got real slimy as he was a more devout follower. So it makes sense for just humans that like nearly like a Wendigo like state where if they eaten human flesh would cause them to actually get corrupted and turn into a gnoll.
I have a question for both of you. Are you aware of the relationship between Baphomet and Yanogu?
All three of them are demon princes, but that's about as far as my
Both of
knowledge
them
goes.
are on the same plane and are rivals, aren't they?
Not on the same. Well, I mean, technically, like abyssal plane, but it's like
same layer of the abyss.
No, they're on separate layers, but they both fucking hate each other. They both outright have, and it's really funny because lore-wise, it's stated neither of them remember why they hate each other, but they just fucking like they both like they've had like an eternal grudge, and it's very much just like they have overlap in the things that they're into. Of like, Yanogu wants to like kill, slaughter, and like be like the strongest fucking like apex predator thing, and Baphomet wants to create the like most powerful apex predator, and they basically end up clashing, and it's this thing where they just fucking hate each other. And I really like to cement the lore idea of if Gnolls and Minotaur ever interact, it's like a thing of like there is something deep inside of them that's like I don't like you. there's like this like grudge from beyond the plane of just like this hate of like my dad, my great grandpappy fucking hate you.
I like that. That's cool. And
But
yeah, I guess that makes sense because I don't know. I feel like Baphomet's a little more orderly than Yanagu as well, so I feel like to have that mirror as well. Since Yanagu's overall goal
full chaos
is just to have literally an absolute hellscape planet. Like there's nothing left. He is the last one standing in this
like a
wasteland
brawl
that he created
to end all brawls.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Gnolls are a means to an end to him. They're not like his children or anything. He's not really fond of them, I feel like.
So it makes sense that their consumption of flesh is sort of like assimilation. as a form of annihilation. So the more like living matter you convert into being a gnoll, or that you convert into poop from a gnoll, is just eventually all lights go out. And I think that's true for every that's interesting that all the devils, they don't want the world to change too much more than how it already functions. All the demon princes just want everything to become them and their vision.
Yeah.
Assimilation does feel like kind of a goal for all of them in their own way, since it's at least like via consumption or corruption, one of the two.
Or silencing.
Oh,
Yeah. Like, it's like, because all the, because even that's the funny thing with demons is the biggest thing. Like, it's kind of funny because there's a point where I think about like the 9 hells, and I'm like, how the fuck is it that these guys compete with the abyss when they, like, the abyss is meant to be like literally like fucking infinite. Like, it is like they're super outnumbered.
It's a really funny. There's a clear answer for that. Where the abyss, everything that's spawned from the abyss can die. It can get killed, and it doesn't exist anymore. The 9 hells. So Bator is different than, I forget the actual name for the abyss. But when you exit any of the hells and you fight on a different area, or if you fight, I think, in the upper layers, you get reincarnated. So where one is this Ouroboros cycle of they are amassing souls by making contracts with mortals, and those mortals are forever doomed to be somewhere in the hells to fight these abyssal creatures. That one is just an infinite factory. It's an infinite factory versus a recycling plant, and that's how it's endless. That's the Blood War 101.
Yeah, and there's also like the additional thing that's really fun with the abyss is just the fact of like, because they are chaos, every single demon lord is fighting with each other too. So it's like the added thing of just like, oh, you have the 9 hells. Like, obviously they have their own infighting, but it's like in the end, it's like they're all on the campaign idea of the Blood War, and then you have the fucking abyss where it's like you get this mess of just all this crazy bullshit coming at you, but also amongst all of that crazy bullshit, you'll have a situation where it's like, oh my god, Baphomet's army and Yanogu's army, oh, they're fighting each other, okay. But to go back to Gnolls. Go ahead.
I really like this this actual excerpt I got right here that was just listed in an example on the D&D wiki of, if you find yourself the object of a Gnollish pursuit, burn your corpses, cover your scent, and pray to whoever might aid you, for there's no bribing, begging, or reasoning with hunger incarnate. Yeah, that's an excerpt for the Lords of Madness, because that's what sold me on Gnolls from the start. When I read that, you even see it in Baldur's Gate 3, that their way of reproducing is hyenas eating the, like, with the Yanagu lore, they're eating like the remains of a slaughter until their bellies swell up so much Gnolls just burst forth from it and are fully grown. It's insane and so metal.
It's really cool. Honestly, I love that.
It's
Baldur's Gate 3 does a good job of showing that assimilation where Gnolls will burst out of corpses if you don't blow them up fast. When I first read the excerpt you just read, I thought it said, if you're pursued by Gnolls, burn your corpse. And I was like,
I was like, burn yourself, die, I hate you.
But it's kind of this,
written by love to your god.
Yeah, if you give a mouse a cookie, it will create more mice, and it will want more cookies, and it will eat everything on your shelf, and then you and your house will just be mice. That's the problem that they.
Yeah, and that's why Gnolls are so cool to me, in the sense of like, it almost feels, it's like a scary sense of like, it's almost like a zombie situation, but they're fucking smart. It's like you just have the mass of Gnolls.
Also they're squat, so you can't even tell. Well, not squat, but they're hunched over. But they're 7.5 to 8 feet tall. That's insane.
They're fucking big.
I have something I started to incorporate in games. It also is like a little bit of a thing of, I try to use it as a sense to add a little bit more of a, like, it's like before we started, we were talking about the idea of like Gnolls being outright evil, and like in the end, I'm like, it's a bit more like they're easy villains in the sense of they're very animalistic, like they're very primal, and like you get into
Good word.
give into instinct, and there's like a level of, there are times where I give Gnolls a little bit of pity to players in the sense of I go off of actual real world hyena like hierarchy, and it's this thing of like, oh, the big ass fucking Gnolls that you see, those are female Gnolls, and then they have like these tiny like weaker Gnolls that are hanging around them, and those are the male ones, and like if they end up killing like all of the big Gnolls and any of the weak ones are left behind, they'll look at the female party members and be like, we'll work for you or something like that, or they're just like, they'll automatically assume like, so you must be the leader here.
Spooky woman domination.
She's scary. Please, they made me do all this stuff. Please don't fucking kill me. It's fucking but like I like it. It does it. At least for me, it's added like a nice little layer of complexity, but it's also like a thing of like also playing into that same thing of like, if they start getting stronger and you start like, it's like having that party member that's so slowly like, yeah, we're beefing up this guy, and it's just like, I want to fucking kill.
Yeah. And I really like, I'm just reading here where apparently some Gnolls in Eberron actually are more just, there's some that actually rebel against Unagu and just pretty much like live mercenary tribes.
Huh.
That's interesting.
How could you even manage to rebel? Because, like, in some, I guess, the old Orcish lore, if you went against, like, your deity, you would feel physical pain. Like, he's like, that's not what I made your blood for.
I would think about it. Well, making punch your bingo cards for this. Fucking to bring it. It makes me think of Minotaur. Fucking in the sense of fucking. It is that thing with Minotaur where it's just like some break free from the connection to Baphomet in the sense of like, oh, I don't want to give in to these like these urges or something, and they become like their own kind of people. And I could maybe see that just being as another case with Gnolls where it's just like maybe something happens to them that they decide, oh, this, like, I could see it even in like an animalistic kind of look where it's like, it makes me think of like even like lizard folk or something like that, where it's just like, this is not advantageous to just rush in there and try to like slaughter these people. Maybe it would work out better for us if we like, you know, showed a little restraint or something like that, or tried to do something different.
So just sort of seeing it from like an evolutionary, what is good for us eating in the long run compared to just natural inherent tendencies.
Yeah. That's how I would explain it. That's my thought process on that.
Yeah, I pretty much have it like any of my races that kind of lean more toward the darker side. There's like, you're not evil from birth, but at the same sense, Gnolls are one of the ones kind of like you on T. Just if you accept the lore as what they are, they pretty much they have to be hostile toward pretty much every other race. It's not to say that one of them might break off and be like, I don't like this, but
because there's always exceptions to the rule.
In everything, there's been an exception. One of the biggest ones is Dritz de Warden with the Drow.
Oh yeah,
or the Emperor with Mind Flayers. There's one in everything.
I
don't
know about the Emperor.
Yeah, I don't know. The Emperor's got his own stuff going on, but
there is also the technicality at the end of the lore. Spoilers for Baldur's Gate 3. Ding, ding, ding. There's a decent chance that the entire time he was being controlled by the Elder Brain in order to guide you along the path to free it from that crown.
What was the name of the Mind Flayer that was with the Hobgoblin?
Oh, I love that guy. I can't remember his name. That is a Mind Flayer I do like.
That guy, I would say, is like more.
He's an exception.
Like better aligned. Like I feel like he's a better example compared to the Emperor, where it's like in the sense of he is completely freed from a brain, and he's like fighting. Like he even admits he's like, yeah, sometimes I do have to eat brains, but I try to be selective about it. Like it's like I'm sorry.
I respect that. I could just go on like that, like this, like that continuation forever.
Yeah.
Like that is also a zombie motif of, well, it is a bad habit. It's a part of my nature, but I keep it in control on behalf of you,
Yeah.
this race that I'm not a part of, or this species that I owe nothing to, which is interesting. But going back to their natural inclinations, I did want to say one of the things that could still make them interesting adventurers is similar to certain storm giants who see like cloud patterns as part of the ordning, which is their religion.
Yes.
Gnolls will sometimes see certain patterns and they will alter their behaviors if they think it is an ordained or an ordination or a part of Yeenagu's plan, which is funny because you can convince a lot of Gnolls to do whatever you want if you're like, no, Yeenagu commands it. Unless Yeenagu hears you and tries to stop you, you can pretty much convince them of anything. They are dumb. They have a low intelligence and a high wisdom, so they're mostly going to believe that, especially if you use any magic that is similar to the magic that some of their shamans use. They're fucked.
Interesting.
Make them adventurers.
Also, the that one mind flare is Omilum, I believe is pronounced.
Omelium, I think.
Melium. That sounds right.
But
Yeah, I love
He's a
Omelium.
mineral.
yeah, cool guy.
He's an out of the abyss.
My favorite. Well, like top 3 at least. Anyways, anyways, but yeah, that being said, that's generally I've mostly run Gnolls as kind of villain groups. I've never really messed with outside outside of that, because I know lizard folks and UNTs, I've done that to where generally they generally, there's some exceptions there where they're trying to blend in with society because it's the easiest for them to survive. But I kind of also like that idea of Gnolls being like this primal, consumed by hunger. They're not thinking of longevity or survival. They're purely thinking just cornered animal fury instincts.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used Gnolls a ton. No, that's not. Well, I've used them in a couple games, but they're mostly usually just been like more like, oh, it's like oh, I need something here. You encounter Gnolls or something. I think the most.
Go ahead, Peter.
Oh no, I was gonna say the most thought out kind of thing that I had was there was a point in my game where the players came across an exotic zoo. And it was a thing of like, oh, some rich noblewoman had a bunch of exotic races that she like was trying to put into this thing. Like there was a dragonborn in the party. In my setting, there was like a thing of like, there has never been a dragonborn that has stepped on this continent before. So this lady was literally having like people go out and try to hunt him to put him in her zoo. And it was this thing where there was a point where the players were able to basically open up all the fucking like gates in the zoo and they let out like a bunch of the creatures. Like there's like a fucking chimera and like a bunch of other shit. All of a sudden, like fucking 10 Gnolls like rush down a hallway and it's just like, oh shit.
And that city's name was Raccoon City.
A mix of The Last Unicorn and
Cabin
in the Woods.
Yeah.
I love that. Just setting this evil zoo free, and it's like, oh, well, one of these things is going to come out on top, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
it was really fucked too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna get like come back the next day. There's 2,000 Gnolls just ready to go on to the next territory.
God, yeah.
It's like there was really fucked because there's like stuff in there that's like legit like big monsters. Like, oh, there's a flail snail that's like going around in the halls or something, or you have like a chimera just like roaming around, and I'm having it like. I set up my chimera to be more like Dragon's Dogma style one, so it's like the goat head is casting spells and shit. And there's a point where they're like, "Wait, this door's not open. Let's open it real quick. Let's see what's inside," because they were looking for their mounts because they had taken them and put them somewhere in the zoo. And they open it up, and there's just an elf dude that's sitting there in like a cell, and he goes, "Who the fuck are you people?"
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
But
I like that as a concept. Actually, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a fucked up thing in its own sense because it's like this is an area that's predominantly human, so it's like any other race that they came across, it's like put them in the zoo. Like I'm having people go out and like find exotic things to throw them in the zoo, and like they just have like glass up top where they're like looking down and looking at the things they have. But regardless, back to Gnolls. I think Gnolls are very cool, and like I kind of like the what's it called, like the flare kind of Gnoll, or like the fucking you know,
Flind, I think.
yeah, the Flind.
The Flind is so cool. Like it design wise is one of my favorite monsters in D&D.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks so freaking cool, and the flares having all the madness effects is nuts.
Yeah, I love like out of the box kind of magical effects of. Like, I like the idea of, like, oh yeah, these guys, like, legit will grab, like, Gnoll bones, too, and, like, fucking turn them into, like, these skeleton things, and they're, like, also all, like, hungry and fucking, like, ravenous, and it's just, like, the idea of, like, it's such a cool thing of, like, oh, he has, like, fucking abyssal, like, Yanogu magic.
Yeah. I do also think that's interesting that Gnolls is one of the few monsters that was wholly unique to D&D. Like, they are the ones that created them. They've been a thing since first edition, and they're very, very crudely sketched form.
Yeah.
And then they become the sickest thing on Earth in 4th edition. Like, if you've never seen the 4th edition art for Gnolls, god dang, something was going on that.
Ooh, jeez. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, I love Gnolls for whatever reason. It seems to attract the people that draw like the really good dark fantasy heavy metal art.
They go so fucking hard. it's
the whole
really
motif
sick.
of dogs, sort of like certain apes, where they bare their teeth and show their gums and their face.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I really feel like that's a good role for Gnolls, being just like a dark fantasy monster of there's no reasoning with it. There's no like other way except to kill it just to survive.
I'm like looking at a
war of
there's like some really good 5e art that I remember of, like it gives me be prepared vibes. It's like you have like this
5e art for him looks like some moon stuff compared to 4e.
Oh yeah, but it is just very like I love the aesthetic of Gnolls. It is very just barbaric and like fucking like it's that we keep touching on it, but just that primal, like it's just savage creatures just on the hunt for you, and you know they just want to fucking eat you. They want to maul you and fuck your shit.
I would say one interesting note compared to other horrific monsters is that they're not really too excessive when it comes to their slaughter. They're not like the Dark Urge where they will make art out of your corpse.
Yes.
They're just going to eat you like a chicken wing. Like they're going to eat every part of you and they're going to move on. And
they're going to take a big club, smash your head in, and then eat your legs.
Yeah,
and that's as simple as it gets.
I nearly argue there aren't even really fully like evil because they're not malicious. It's just their nature.
They're primal. Yeah.
I nearly feel like they're humanoid through a technicality. Other than that, they basically are beastmen. Like a bloodborne nearly level.
Well, even in like their like ability, because it's like they have that thing of like,
they
once you kill
humanoid.
Are they humanoid?
Yep.
Yeah.
They should be. They should not be.
Yeah.
I like their little ability of I forget what it's called, but it's basically like, once you kill somebody or once you kill a creature, immediately bonus action, you rush up like your speed again and you like hit the other like the next thing, and it's like it's just this fucking thing of like kill.
Hey. Yeah, I can't help. I'm just intrigued looking at the art differences between 4E and all this other stuff. Like anyone could say anything they want about 4E. 4E had some good art to it. Like
it did.
Like you said, it introduced, it tried a lot of new things and it failed at a decent amount of things. But the idea of expanding the elemental planes, I thought was fun. I didn't know that 4E.
Yes, I agree. I think I respect the fact that they tried something different, and even then, we still have echoes of that because there's things in 5e that they pull from and like try to expand more. Well, not really expand more on. It's more like they pull those ideas because it is very much just like that was actually pretty sick. It's kind of sad some people don't know that certain things come from 4e, but there's a yeah, no, it had pretty interesting ideas going on, and I like yeah, I also agree. There's a lot of really sick ass art that came out of 4E. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, I want to talk about some other things with Gnolls. Is there's not a lot of
Yeah.
diversity to them, but the little bit we get is pretty interesting because it's more like you get different kind of martial Gnolls, except for the Witherling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, and that was Gnolls that were devoured by their warband companions, and now they're just skeletons that were raised by Unagu just to keep the fight going.
Guys, you weren't supposed to eat each other yet.
Not till everything else has been eaten. It's like eating dessert before dinner, you fool.
You imagine like fucking like just having a witherling standing there, and one of the gnolls just grabs like it picks a bone off to suck out the marrow. Like it's just
That's kind of awesome.
yeah.
I do want to say, I don't want to acknowledge, and if they haven't been already, I say that half gnolls are a full retcon. That's not something that should exist.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense, especially because they're very like because again their origins they don't really have that humanity to them. It is I think that is like the interesting thing that separates gnolls from like a lot of stuff is they don't have like because with me when I think about like Minotaur and like their breaking free kind of thing, I think of like well there's an echo of humanity that's in there. There's like something
which is why they shouldn't be humanoid. They don't have
they should be
any
monsters.
external passion. Their world is entirely like Yinagu's world. It's like
yeah.
They're part of this domain expansion or whatever. They're
Yeah.
a fragment of that reality and not ours at all. Just some animalistic beastlands border kind of nightmare.
Yeah, I nearly feel like they shouldn't be able to reproduce with the fact that they were born from like a hyena dark ritual, just like a hyena exploding, and oh god, 3 to 4 children just came out, and now they're full grown and eating a whole cow.
The only way that I could see a half null existing is more out of like some similar process of it's like oh it literally bursted out of a like it's like maybe somebody's eaten like the meat that's been tainted or something and it literally like bursts out and has like
a form of werewolfism.
Yeah, like almost like a thing of like oh something new has bursted out and it's like it has like humanoid traits or it has human-esque kind of traits to it. It's like a fiend at that point. Like it makes me think of like a Cambion or something like that where it's just like this is like a Gnoll style Cambion.
This is my Gnoll OC, Kai Wolfsbane. He wasn't accepted by the other Gnolls, so he beat them all up, and now the Gnolls will like respect him, and he's the Sigma male, and he's off to his own, doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's kind of sick as fuck. He eats when he wants. He's a vegetarian.
He doesn't.
He was born with pitch black fur, permanently black stained eyes. Looks like he's wearing eyeliner, but he's not. He's got black nails.
He wears diapers,
and he
but
tells
never
everybody.
Should. I would say the only way that maybe a half null makes sense is not through any classic like reproduction.
Yeah.
But say a null fails to finish a meal. Like it doesn't exactly finish a corpse, like eating it, and it leaves, and then that person gets found later and is revived. I would say both the revived corpse gains gnollish features, and the gnoll who's cursed for not committing to the bit of being hungry as fuck, they're both cursed like and they gain kind of a semblance of each other. Okay. That's the only way I would try to spin it myself.
Yeah, maybe that, or also like a hyena that maybe like didn't get the last hyena in a bunch, like the run of the litter, who didn't get to eat that much when she inevitably burst it gives gives forth to a very small kind of malnourished Gnoll.
Yeah, so not half humanoid, but like a fledgling Gnoll.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I like that. Yeah,
a little
this is
Chihuahua
decent
Gnoll.
ideas. Well, this is a fun thing with this too. Is I always like I like touching on a certain demon lord or like a certain
You like touching demon lords? Me too,
yeah,
bro.
because I think it's funny.
It explains why you mentioned Baphomet so much.
I love touching Baphomet.
You're trying to cope
it's
with
like
the fact that Baphomet and you got a weird relationship, man.
I just want him to step on me with his big cow feet. That's all.
his big old hoof foot. Fucking because I like expanding on these ideas because obviously like demon lords have a ton of power and like even outside of just themselves being like Yonagu did not plan on making Gnolls. When he entered the material plane and he went on his warpath, it was more like a side product and he's like, oh, what the fuck? There's like little mini me's running around.
Yeah.
I guess
He
I
turned
think
around and he
now.
was like, "Is that my shit? Why is it walking?"
yeah,
What the
kind of. It's like he just
he has just a bunch of little guys like, you are a god. We worship you. And he's like, ugh.
it's like, what the fuck?
Go.
Are those a bunch of goons?
Tell us what to do, boss, please.
You got it, boss. I love the idea. You know what's really funny? Not to go too side tangented, but it's a funny. Yonagu is like such a goofy demon lord to me in the sense of on his plane, it is like an eternal like it's literally big plains kind of area on his layer of the abyss, and he lives in like this big war hut, but the war hut is on wheels. And it's being pushed by Gnolls. And so he's like basically just sitting in his hut and he's like on this long like basically on his off time while he's in his plane, he's sitting in his house and his house is being moved around like this big yurt. It's being moved around by like Gnolls on wheels and they're just running around and they have like people that are just like trying to escape and he's just hunting them eternally and it's just this goofy idea of this Flintstones machine that he's just riding around.
Listen, that would be so hard though if that hut gets transported to Avernus and into Blood Wars.
Oh my god, that would be sick as
He's in front of hell
fuck.
machines. He has a bunch of Gnolls, like you said, Flintstoning one hut. And
He's like, he's got like a big whip or something, and he's just like, move, mush. He's like, fucking.
You guys are familiar with what a juggernaut is, right?
Like
Charles Xavier's brother, who was his half brother. What it was he was blessed by that crystal that gave him
the Juggernaut,
power
bitch.
to he was the Juggernaut, and he
Well, he got a magic crystal from the god Sitorak of indomitable wrath. I know the shit.
I'm familiar. He is not a mutant. He is just a guy that doesn't like his brother.
He is not just Juggernaut. He is a human Juggernaut. Do you know what the fuck a Juggernaut actually is?
No, what's a Juggernaut?
No, what is he?
So I believe his name is. It's a complete mispronunciation, but like Jagannath or Juggernaut. So I think that's the Hindu god Jagannath, and he had temples made that were called temple cars. And there's, whether or not they're actually a myth, but it is a temple on a car. And because this is like a god of slaughter, it would just go, and people who worshipped it would throw themselves in front of it and get run over.
Yeah, because this is also that's really interesting because that's also
temple car is what.
That's also kind of some of the lore with Yonagu's
yeah, that's
thing.
what I was going to say.
That's
what that sounds like.
Because it's like this thing of like, oh yeah, everything's like trampled under his fucking wheels and shit. Like he's just out here. That's fucking sick, actually. That's awesome as fuck.
And I mean that ties into his idea of just like he is the
he's a juggernaut,
immovable
bitch.
He is just an unstoppable force, both his will and his power. Of he just keeps going because he's gonna get you.
There's a lot to go on to with Yonagu, and I do really like him.
Growing on me a little bit.
I don't know. I just like that about Gnolls, that they are kind of that fun little. I feel like they are not really in our silly little guy category that we've been growing, but they're like
they're fucking scary.
In a grim dark world. They're the silly little guys.
Yes.
Speaking of grim dark, have you ever heard of Grim Hollow?
No, I haven't. Explain in vivid detail what Grim Hollow is in 2 to 5 paragraphs.
Well, Grim Hollow Transformed is a Kickstarter that's active as of this call, but not when this video goes up. And I don't.
Link in the bio. It's not.
No.
Take a look at the bio. This actually isn't sponsored. Don't please. Don't get mad at me.
They didn't let me write anything in that book. They don't think I can get nasty, but I can. So I give them a 1 out of 10.
This is going to be your origin story. Logan gets nasty.
No, Logan gets
Logan
nasty.
goes nasty mode. That's the episode title.
Yeah, this is the
Logan gets nasty on the battlefield.
That's what you got to do. You got to challenge Nog to a nasty off and earn the Australians' respect, because that's the only thing they know.
It's true. Getting nasty.
Oh my god.
But I started this video calling Gnolls Australians. I don't know if we're going to win Ghostfire on this one.
I was going to say the best way to use Gnolls is, like Mario said, he uses them as a classic war band. They're just roving like black holes where they'll go and they'll eat anything that they see. And they're very easy to use in the same way that they're used in Baldur's Gate 3, where they don't belong in the story. They're in one section. They kill a bunch of people, and I don't think they have any actual motive that I really was able to glean that pertains to anything massive about the story.
Their war chief was a true soul, so there was like potential. There could have been more there, but
that's what I was saying then. You could trick them really easily. He could have just been Yinagu. It's Yinagu.
They said they should do this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. They never went in. I don't think they ever went into it, but yeah, like the chief of their group was a true soul. So they just had to alter that one. Then next thing you know, all the other Gnolls are just going on a warpath in that one little section of the map.
Huh. There's I know there's a way that I end up using them in my game as well. Is just they are, because they're not from the current continent my players are on. There's like an offshore kind of continent thing, and like the whole reason they basically showed up in that other continent was just they were basically I had like a setup thing of like, oh, there's some GIF, like not GIF as in like Githzerai, but like GIF as in the hippo people, and they were basically pirates that ended up on the other continent, and they just had like this is like a spiral off of an idea that a friend of mine had, but basically the idea was like, oh, big fucking hippo dude was also a follower of Yinogu, and he was just like a big hungry maw fucking pirate dude that had like a bunch of like hippo guys with him, and they had like fucking Gnolls with them. But the idea is
that actually makes a lot of sense for hippos.
Yeah. In the continent, an idea that I had is, there are like 2 sections of this big continent where it's like on the coast, on the upper side, a lot of like civilization is like along there, and like on the opposite side of the continent, there's a lot of like more like stuff is kind of disconnected, and the main reason why is because there's like a bunch of mountains that kind of form this big bowl in the center of the continent here, and the big issue is a long time ago, because there was like a setup that I had in my setting where it's like, Baphomet rose out in this area in the continent, and it caused like this like chaotic bullshit, and like basically goblinoids and everything popped up. This other continent had a similar thing, and it was where Yinogu popped up, and so it would have been like, this was like really long time ago, and everything's kind of like gotten normalized again. But the idea is, we mostly travel by coast and like by boat to go to like the opposite sides of the continent, because that middle part is Gnoll country, and it's like a thing of just like, you don't want to fucking risk going, like, this is not a thing of like, this is a faction or something. It's more like, this is just a chaotic force that lives in the center. You don't want to get tangled up in that shit. And that's basically how I would use them. Is just like if people were passing through, it's just like, oh, you just got to deal with the fact there's a fuck ton of like warring Gnoll tribes, and they're just constantly like just slaughtering each other or anything that passes
That's
through.
awesome.
That is cool. I like that.
The infinite battlegrounds.
Yeah. I've used them in. I was about to say 2 of my settings now, but they pretty much were just like in the first setting they were like pretty much they were kind of like an obstacle in a way of like the main arc villain, where basically an arc villain used illusions to trick a warband and into believing Yanagu commanded them to attack this whole big city. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, so basically the main villain used them as fodder to weaken the city's defenses before she launched like an internal strike onto the city itself.
Terrorism.
Yeah, and part of it was I saw the Gnoll Flynn from in Volo's guide and saw like the little skull flail it has, and that is god dang, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I'm going to use that one way or another.
Hell yeah.
And it goes so hard.
It's so cool, like genuinely, and it actually makes Gnolls like into an actual menace when you have like an entire warband of them led by that thing. Just because the magical effects also really make it to where marshals even have to watch themselves around him, because they can get themselves tripped up with mental debuffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they actually are really good tactically as well to use in a party.
Yeah, Gnolls are strangely tactical because they come from not just a god of slaughter, even though that is his main thing. He is also a god of conquest and war. So he's got effective tactics, and that's why they all have different like titles and specialties.
Yeah.
Like I think the main thing that messes them up in tactics is probably just the fact that they're just fucking ravenous. So it's just more like
hungry and horny on the battlefield.
Yeah, it's like it is a thing of like there is a cutoff point where it's like they're just gonna go fucking wild.
I'm sure you could coax them into that too as like a counter.
Yeah, honestly. Let them use that against them. Let them go fuck it. Like let them charge into something.
Hell yeah.
I was about to say, in the second setting, it pretty much was Gnolls were pretty much like considered a plague on the area because they just ate everything with no remorse and would absolutely destroy any ecosystem they were introduced into. So pretty much like on the continent that the player's currently on, there might be a small pocket of Gnolls that will appear out of nowhere that just basically appeared on a ship from an island that they're currently living on right now. They're like, hey, no, we need to stop this before it becomes a problem, because they know the Gnolls, if they hang around long enough, it's going to absolutely wreck everything that their society's trying to develop.
Kind of like stomping out a sickness early before it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Which again, I guess goes back to zombies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quarantine and exterminate them before they...
Gnolls kind of are better zombies in a way. Like,
yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're going for, but it is very much just like you... They are like
classic zombies. Like if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, they're like a plague in a way that like zombies would be, where basically they're killing a population or a livestock or what have you, and they keep growing the more they consume. They're kind of like Terminids from Warhammer in a sense like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean Tyranids or... I get them mixed up lately because of fucking Helldivers. I'm like Terminids, Tyranids.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Those are really similar. I didn't realize.
They're very on purpose. They take a lot of inspiration.
My dark space fantasies corrupted me. I can't tell the difference.
What the hell?
You fool!
But yeah, no. But no, I like that, where they're kind of like a natural plague in that sense of... And also kind of the madness effect that kind of lingers on that you could probably explore as well, just from a demon being the source of it. Give it a human cultist not making the situation any better, and you get the classic Stephen King written character that's just like, oh, we gotta give ourselves to the evil thing, so we're gonna
We gotta.
So we're gonna get out here, and I'm gonna ruin everything because Steve.
We gotta jump into the darkness.
That's the only way to survive. Is we gotta give ourselves to the darkness, and it's going the natural way of things.
We gotta give
Sora.
Kyrie to the darkness so it'll rain again.
Sora, the
Our crops
Gnolls,
are
they showed me a
dying.
bunch of cool imagery. I want to be just like them.
I want to be just like you. Ooh,
Boil!
You think you a gnome.
If you think about it, that makes more sense. Goofy being a gnoll than a dog.
Can you
Oh,
imagine
God.
Goofy as a gnoll? It's like
Like Saturn devouring his son, but Goofy devours Mickey's dog,
you
Pluto.
you know you're in Gnoll country. You're traveling with a party. You're trying to be quiet. Suddenly you hear like the step of like a branch breaking. You look over the edge. You see these dark gnolls with these like little like weird fucking deformations in their head, and you just hear in the
Little dog noggin.
boil.
Maxie, we gotta consume Mickey to
Maxie.
reproduce.
Go yeah.
Maxie, it's the natural way. You have to consume your entire high school. We're going to do it at the Powerline concert to spread to sow mass madness across the continent.
Maxie, I promise all your actions during this movie will be forgiven and everyone will love you.
Boil.
Boil!
Maxie, remember to use the perfect cast to catch your victim.
Oh, yeah. Like fishing for humans, whipping them into a knoll pit.
That would be terrifying. You're running from the 7-foot-tall dog man, and he just starts flailing at you with a fishing pole and yanks you close to him.
Boil.
It made my stomach hurt.
It took us 51 minutes to devolve this episode. We're doing actually pretty good, guys.
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
We're actually becoming professionals.
Would you look at that?
Would you look at that? It only took me potentially ruining my relationship with Ghostfire to do it.
Exactly.
They're gonna watch this and they're gonna talk to me and be like, "Logan, you need to stop being friends with those people." And I'll be like, "Boil!"
That dang old Southern boy thinks you. Wait, why am I talking? Talking like Australians are Southern? That dang old Southern boy thinks all of us are dingoes. You can't be hanging around him.
We're actually
they can't not prove that they're not dingoes.
I haven't seen the paperwork, so yeah.
That's true. I met a very kind gentleman at Gen Con, but I don't know if he wasn't a dingo.
It was a dingo in disguise.
He's a dangle dingo.
He's dang old dingo.
That's a dangle dingle dial ate my baby.
Dingo dials, running around with their boomerangs and.
It's not even close to the Australian accent that I did there.
I was able to do it for a while after I hung out with them for like a week, and then I lost it, and I've never been able to get even close.
The Mackers.
All I know is to get into it, you can do the razor blades rise up lights thing. Do you guys not know that?
No.
It's if you say razor blades casually, you're saying rise up lights in an Australian accent.
Rise up blights. Oh, rise up blades.
Yeah.
Oh,
rise up blades.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. Yeah.
I don't know.
I also think of nah.
The only Australian accents I hear often is Max Mofo and anything for views. So I'm pretty sure I got the tainted Australian accent.
I think about fucking Mike Cusack shit. I like the immediate
Mike Cusack. Yeah.
I think about fucking Mike Cusack.
His accent's
sweet little mouth.
Yeah.
I think of the stupid fucking
I forgot.
It's Rick and Morty Bushland Adventures.
Come on, Morty.
Come on, Morty. Get in the fucking car, Morty. Yeah.
I'm scared to do it because I've already embarrassed myself enough. I don't know if I'll be able to do it.
Or the
fucking drugger.
I don't know if you saw. I got every now and then. I just don't feel like bringing out a fancy cosplay at a con. I'll just go as Crocodile Man back when I had really blonde hair. But now I'm now I'm a brunette because I work inside and I'm not sun bleached and tan and handsome like I used to be, so I can't do it as well anymore.
You physical fool.
No, I miss being confused as a beach boy often. Now there's like, oh yeah, you're just a long-haired dude from Alabama. I hate you. Go away.
I hate you.
Misplaced lion.
Fuck you.
Get out.
I'll never forget that at work where I had someone walk up to me, not walk up to the front desk and is like, hey, I gotta talk to that one guy that works here. He don't sound like or look like he's from around here, but he's a very nice guy. You know who I'm talking about? And they're like, you talking about Chuck? And he's like, yeah, that guy.
What are you talking about?
And you know he was born here, right? They're like, was he?
Nah.
That white boy? Nah, that can be.
Yeah, no, I don't look like I'm from Alabama. It's Alabama natives, but as soon as I say y'all on here, they're just like, oh, you little simple country boy, ain't you? Don't you hide from me, boy.
I say y'all in like up
Hey,
here
y'all.
in Washington, and yeah, I'm like, how are y'all? Or I say howdy, and I'm like, wait, does that sound weird to these people? What the fuck?
Yep. You done
Howdy.
showing the
How
tape
are
book
y'all
and you've been hanging
doing?
around me too much.
I'm
I was-
from the Central Valley, all right. I work with farmers. I know how it is.
I was listening to myself, but like I had an old YouTube video that I left like unlisted,
Good.
and I was listening to how I spoke, and I like realized, oh my god, my accent has changed a lot because I've been trying to like speak more concise, but I had like way more of a slur to my words, or I'm just like I'm like. Yeah, it's too good. Like I'm like trying to think of how I would talk, or it's like it kind of made me think of like Carl from fucking Aqua Teen, where it's just like I had like a bit of a I don't know what the fuck I was doing because I remember people used to comment on it before too, because I would have like a I don't know I've had like a lot of shift in my voice, but like now when I speak, if people don't know what I look like, they just assume I'm very white.
I'm a white
I
boy.
gotta ask, do you feel like also you relearning Spanish has affected that as well?
Potentially, there's like certain stuff where it's it makes me kind of notice certain inflections in my voice more, like especially when I like shift, like cuando empiezo a hablar en español, ahí es
Now, boy, I don't know what kind of language.
Boy, I asked you a question. Now you didn't have to get all fancy on me.
Now, you don't gotta.
You don't gotta remind me that I only know one language. God dang,
I
boy.
know one thing, and let me tell you,
I speak no.
it is.
I speak gnome.
I speak Gnoll, I speak a little bit of kobold, and that's all I speak.
I'm picturing like gnome speak is just like Animal Crossing speak, like it's like
Or like Spanish.
yeah, Spanish. I know a little Spanish.
Oh, no. Y'all ignore the calculator just appeared on screen. I laughed so hard I slapped my keyboard.
I laughed so hard I had to compute that.
I laughed so hard I had to calculate the funnies. It's not looking good, fellas. We need to look at our quarterly reports and then start up the funnies again.
Our JPM is it's falling.
Yeah. I consulted an outside source and they said we need to do more little funny little characters. Like we need to go back to a classic The Mind Has Gone Sour.
We got to go back to the past to play these shitty games that suck ass.
There you go. We're back. We're back on top, boys.
All right, so at this point, I don't think we've talked about Gnolls for 10 minutes. But...
We're dropping
what else? What else?
Fade away.
What else to touch on Gnolls?
Stop touching on Gnolls, man. So there's Flynn's.
There's Blins.
There's Quislins.
You know, there
There's
isn't.
Quiznos.
There's,
Usually
like-
they'll like have like kind of like a blessed one. Like usually with the kind of primal races like this, they'll at least have a pseudo cleric, which is just basically this one was
Kind of
blessed
the
by
Flynn,
this,
I guess.
Like I said, they do have shamans. I don't quite think it's the Flynn.
Do they got shamans?
They really
Yeah,
should. I wonder
have-
if they. Hold on. If I fucking look up...
I really need to have my books handy when we're doing this.
I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just don't keep them alpha. There you are, you little backward ass bitch.
A little bitch.
Motherfucker. There's yes, Flynn's, which they have the crazy flails that can paralyze and drive you mad and do crazy stuff. There are flesh gnawers, hunters, the witherlings, which are the skeletal ones you talked about. They don't have shamans in this.
Yeah, I thought so. Like, the closest to blessed is the Flynn's flail is blessed, but not the Gnolls itself, which is something I thought was interesting, where...
Well, maybe...
It nearly feels like Yall doesn't want to give out his power.
It could one be just the fact of like that 5e they didn't make a version of it, but I could also see like giving into that, like you said, it's just like Inagu is all about the fucking blood and the gore and everything, so it's just a thing where he's like, nah, you don't get healed. If you're weak, fuck you.
There's no magic. Definitely no healing or clerics, which makes sense for most of the lower planes. They deal in death and rebirth. But the fact that they don't get any magical augmentations other than just like inherent spiritual madness almost, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, because like a dark paladin for Yanagu would go insane.
Ooh,
a little too spooky.
I could see that, like even like not even like healing situation. It is just like a gnoll that can smite, give like necrotic smites or something.
Just like that. Like specifically, don't even make them a paladin. Just give them smite options. But
I also think they would have that paladin like aura of madness, probably, where they make everyone around them fight anyone around them except themselves. So they can walk through, say, a town square and turn it into a battlefield. That'd be cool.
I like this. That'd be really calling fun. It a Gnoll Arbiter of Madness.
I could see an aura of aggression.
Or a Herald of War. Something like that.
Sounds really cool.
I like the idea. It's almost like the JoJo stand of just like fucking like they walk around like even the townsfolk, and while the people are like all freaked out, it's like suddenly, oh, you get like kind of like heroism, but also you're pissed. Like you're like
like the
you're
JoJo
not scared and you're angry and like you just want to fucking fight.
Well, because they're all about food, I think. It sort of like the cartoon, oh, that guy looks like a hot dog, or that guy looks like a slice of pizza. It would turn you into like, it would immediately deal necrotic damage and starve you, and it would convince you that that's the nearest source of food, and that bring that urgency to the top of your mind. It would give you
get
that
an aura of hunger. You get like aura of gluttony, fucking
where you're like, I want to eat my best friend's arm.
Ravenous aura.
Yeah, give that really a really specific form of madness where basically you have to eat something or you're going to go. You're going
to die.
Like... Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Aura of Pika.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like this. I think I'll actually mess with that. Like, have Flynn's as being like a war chief, but have like a war priest.
Yeah, like a court mage. There's not a court though. It's just like
something I kind of think about too. Just because it kind of fits with the idea. I like the. I feel like I would probably steal stuff from like the Mouth of Grolantor. Like if you know what that is, the hill giant that basically got real skinny.
Oh yeah,
It's like they got sick. Yeah, they get sick, and like basically Grolantor has like given them something where it's like, oh, you're just super fucking hungry, but it makes you stronger and angrier.
Yeah, I was thinking that, or also like the lizard folk Hungry Jaws, where they bite as a bonus action and it gives them like temporary hit points.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was trying to think. I feel like there's something I referenced recently where it's like a type of character who eats and eats and eats, but can never recover that isn't a Gnoll. But I might have just like been awake too long.
Because some of the Grolantor stuff is kind of cool. Actually, I'm looking at it. I'm like realizing, oh, they have different attacks for like you basically roll, and it's just like they make 3 attacks on this one, and it does like special shit. Or like it's like They make one bite attack and the person's fucking stunned.
Dang.
Just like septic shock.
Ugh.
It's
Sick.
yeah, no, that I kind of like that idea too for like a Gnoll, like the idea of like you have like just Gnoll going fucking ravenous. You roll on the thing of like, okay, what do you do? It's just like, oh yeah, he fucking starts mauling your leg, and you feel this like immediately this fucking like this dirty mouth of this fucking Gnoll sends your body into shock. Like it's like something is going through your bloodstream and you get stunned for a moment. I like the idea, actually, like even going on to like that zombie kind of situation, the thought of just Gnolls being really dirty, like dirty kind of mouth, like almost like a Komodo dragon kind of thing, of just like you have long lasting, like after interacting with them, you get like long lasting kind of like shit going on, which could mean nothing for like, you know, you got a cleric and they're just like, oh, I just did a lesser restoration or something like that, but it's like there's still like an aspect of it of I kind of like some of those things, especially for early stuff where it's just like you get hit with this thing and maybe it doesn't last super long, but it is like a thing like, oh no.
Even just adding necrotic or like poison damage to a bite though would be a pretty sick idea.
Ooh, yeah, potentially get disadvantage.
I think acid damage would be pretty effective because like ones where their bile just coats their mouth and kind of rots everything about them.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I nearly like that idea. I kind of like. So I'm kind of thinking two variants in my mind. One that basically is like the paladin that just has an aura of madness around it, and then like one that basically is just like the gourmet gourmet Gnoll, if you will, the GG of it just has like nearly like an unhinged like katakuri like huge jaw, and it just like eats like pretty much anything and everything, and that's caused it to have like that Komodo dragon bite.
You know what I just fucking remembered? There's that weird hyena demon, the Shusuva or something like that.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Scorpion tail. Cool. Yeah, it's fucking.
I cannot believe I forgot all about that thing.
I almost forgot about that. It's basically just a hyena with a big fucking scorpion tail, and it looks kind of sick.
Shit, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And it is specifically a Yanogu demon.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, because God, it looks so cool. And it's scorpion tail and everything. It's good stuff. Yeah, I like the little pet one. I guess that's the closest thing to a blessing really you get is you get the fancy scorpion dog because Inagu's like, yeah, I guess you get a Christmas present. Jeez, take it.
I don't know if this is
so good at eating. I'm gonna give you pre-digestion.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I was like, I don't know how they're spawned necessarily, but my idea would be like, oh, almost like the same hyena situation of like, oh, something bursts free, and it's like, oh, this one's super special if you've made Yanogu happy. Looking into it, that is basically what happens. A Shisuva is a hyena demon gifted by Yanogu to an especially powerful worshipper, typically a fang of Yanogu. The Shisuva manifests shortly after a Yanogu worshipper warband achieves a great victory, emerging from billowing, fetid cloud of smoke as it appears from the abyss.
The like nasty fart cloud scorpion.
Yeah, big stinky fart cloud comes out, and then this thing like walks out.
You smell it, you become one.
Also super cool with the idea of like, oh, this is I picture this as like a mount or something like that. Like they're just riding around on this fucking big hyena thing.
Could be.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're seeing like all the regular hyenas versus the hyenas on two legs, seeing a demonic one would really throw you for a loop of just like, what the is that? Because in a D&D standard are kind of natural to an extent. There isn't too many like oddities about them.
Not really.
Not like because they are outright like kind of it's like in a situation if somebody asked me, I do this a couple times in my games where it's just like for certain spell things, it's like, are these things considered undead or fiendish or something? And a lot of times it's like, in a sense, yeah. Like it's like a thing of I had that with Minotaur, or actually with Gnolls when they've encountered them before, or even like because of how
I gotta use the restroom. Can I pop out?
How dare you?
Yeah.
No, you're
we'll probably wrap after you get back, but yeah.
Yeah. But Yeah, no, I've done that like a couple times where it's like I'll even have like due to my setting how UNT are brought up, it's like, oh, they're technically fiendish. So it's like a
Yeah.
thing of I could see I could see certain stuff with that. Look at the little cat. I could see certain
Yeah, it's
stuff with
currently
that.
replacing Logan as the third host of the
Yeah.
podcast.
What are your thoughts on Gnolls?
You don't like them.
But
Uh,
yeah, have you used Gnolls much in your own campaigns?
like I said, that them two instances, I like you. To me, they fit a good role, kind of like we talked about before. Like they're a good like extra little challenge or villain of kind of set dressing of conflict going on in a campaign.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I haven't used them as like a huge like threat in a while. Like that was the main threat I used them as in that first campaign I ever ran, where they were used as a tool from the big bad guy. But as far as I haven't used them in a little bit, I'm wanting to use them pretty soon coming up. So I'm probably going to actually use what we talked about today and
Oh, fuck yeah.
using some practical applications because in the continent they're in my campaign right now, it's pretty much the largest continent in their world, and a good chunk of it is completely untamed, like wild land. And the southern part of the continent is one big part wetlands, part jungle that is completely run by just a few loose tribes of like humanoids, tabaxi, uh, the the one bit of UNT left in this setting is all like kind of migrated down there because they in my setting there's a huge like generational beef between elves and UNT. Like they cannot stand each other. And Gnolls I was wanting to have a little bit of a role going on right in there. Where there's a Goblin Kingdom right on that southern border that's trying to expand southward because they're trying to play nice with every other kingdom, but that's considered untamed land, so they're trying to expand their territory southward. And down there, it's pretty much loose tribes of uh, loose tribes of the turtles and the tabaxi that are down south. They're not really territorial. They're mostly just travelers and merchants and stuff like that. So they're not really a problem there assimilating, but there is a homebrew race I have called Bavarians that are beaver folk.
Oh.
That they're pretty territorial about their wetlands, but they're willing to play nice with the goblins because of the UNT problem that are also fighting for the wetlands. And I'm thinking of the Gnolls also being a bit of a factor in that as well, of a wild card of they're slowly trying to work their way back, and all the other races hate them because the Gnolls are pretty much a thorn in their side constantly, just acting as bandits that are anytime they're trying to build or establish themselves anywhere, the Gnolls will come in and start messing things up, and then if they let them get out of control, they become a plague that they just cannot even handle.
I got one of your goddamn TikToks in there, man.
we're talking about the uses of Gnolls in campaigns and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing that I said before. They're good as war bands who aren't tied to a larger society because that's not what they do. Just wipe them out when you see them,
Yeah.
with fire.
Yeah. I like, especially looking up the Shisuva thing. I just really love. I have like this specific imagery in my head, very much that like be prepared, like green mist, fucking like floating around of just you're passing through like a battlefield or something, and then all of a sudden in the distance you see the red eyes of these fucking Gnolls, and there is this dude on this big fiendish fucking like hyena, and they're just looking at you, ready to charge. I love the idea of out of this green plume mist, these fucking foul hyena men just start like you hear like the little chortles, the little laughter in the distance, the fucking the creepy ass hyena laughs. I want to practice doing hyena laughs for fucking sessions.
Yeah, definitely. I need to start on that if I'm going to use them again. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
they're definitely the most heavy metal enemy in D&D. I like them for that sense.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like I think of them like because they definitely feel like a certain category, and they're definitely different things that you can do with each. But it's kind of I think of orcs, I think of hobgoblins, and I think of gnolls in that kind of spot of just these roaming war bands.
Yeah, just difference to me is you can like negotiate and work with pretty much the other ones. To me, Gnolls is pretty much
gnolls.
like this unstoppable. They only desire to consume you. They have no other use for you.
The only way you could probably like maybe try to do something with them is just sicking them on somebody else or like figuring out a way to coax them to fight somebody else.
Yeah, wasn't one of the main critical role things that they did was have like a big feast for a bunch of gnolls?
I think so.
I think that was like the kickoff.
I remember there being a lot
Yeah,
of
they were like the first group of villains they fought in campaign 2.
Yeah, okay, campaign 2, yeah.
Yeah, because they were dealing with a lot of lower planar influence in campaign 2, and yeah, it was cult of Yanagu was growing in the plane area they started in.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
But anyways, that being said, so we got that one question out of the way. Now for our other question. How would you rank the Gnolls?
Give them a 4.
I give them like a strong 3, but in a good way. Yeah. I would say like they are the epitome of what a 3 should be with the depth that it needs. Like
that's fair.
I give them.
They're very one beat, but they cover all facets of that beat.
I give them a 4 out of. I can see a lot of potential in the demonic connection of just because they serve the basic purpose of roaming warband, but I also really like the idea of like this could be a setup of like a lead into interacting with demons where it's just straight up, oh, you come across gnolls chanting somewhere and then all of a sudden these fuckers start like like you have like demons creeping out or something, or just some shit gets summoned.
Yeah, because they can summon demons just with their fervor. I think they have the ability to open up a portal to the plane that Yinagu is in and just spill them out to help with the war.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I've been teetering, but I think I'm going to go 4. The art is actually what pushes it over the edge for me because they look...
Yeah, but it's I get like a lot of imagery in my head. It's kind of funny because it's like I think I went with 3 for Minotaur, and it is very much the thing of like there are connections, but I feel like Minotaur themselves have like that like they feel a lot more neutral. They feel a lot more like grounded, whereas Gnolls are fucking wild. Like I immediately think of like, oh, they're gonna do some crazy shit when you see them.
And also, Gnolls have just been given a lot more attention than Minotaurs. Minotaurs, there's like technically 3 with Baphomet. There's the Minotaur skeleton, the Minotaur, then there's Baphomet are the only options we have with.
Like, there's technically some other stuff, but it's also like not immediately apparent. Like it's like I think of the Garistro, but that's also just like okay, you have a big Minotaur, you have a very big Minotaur.
Yeah, but Gnolls, there's a few different variants, even the Flins, the Witherlings, the Fangy Yanagu, the base Gnolls. Then there is Yanagu itself. So there's a little more. I like both of them for similar reasons, but then. Yeah, when you factor in just the aesthetic and the potential of it, that's kind of what I'm leaning toward.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, all right. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
If you go see a pack of wild dogs, don't get eaten by them, I guess.
Exactly. Don't let the dingo eat your baby.
During your savannah excursion, hold your babies tight.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see a female hyena, you might not realize it at first.
Yeah.
Oh, goodbye.